Hello, everybody. This is just a little something. I saw some other YouTubers doing like Q&As, and I was like, you know what? I am bored, so why don't I do a Q&A? And I had this idea last night, so technically it's doing it now. Hello, Mr. Raziel Beast. How is it going today? Narwhal Titan. Yeah, I just wanted to do like a Q&A if you guys wanted to ask me some questions or just like a hangout in general, because I saw some other YouTubers doing it and it seemed fun. So yeah, we got a couple people in chat. That's awesome. I've got my coffee, which is good for Jordan's. Benjamin, hello. Tum Tum Sir, hello. How are you guys doing today on this fine Sunday afternoon? If you are indeed in a Sunday afternoon. Some of you might be far, far away. Beard Bear, I think you were the first one to join this afternoon. So awesome. Which video did I like the most making? Probably the Netherese videos. I super enjoyed those. It surprised me how much I didn't know about that, and it was like this really cool piece of Forgotten Realms history that had eluded me, and I was like, this is so neat. Why aren't there more stories going back to this? So the Netherese videos. That's why there were two-parters, I think, because I enjoyed it so much. Oh, my favorite race class combo. Boy. So I had an idea the other day of doing a kobold rogue because they have pack tactics and they get advantage when they're next to somebody. And when you're next to somebody, you get sneak attack, and you have sneak attack when you have advantage. So it kind of seemed like a good combo to me. I liked the kobold rogues. I think that might be my next character. Yeah, we got to 16,000 subscribers like a couple weeks ago. So thank you very much, Orhan. It's pretty exciting. I like how much the channel has grown in the 1 year that we've been doing it. Hey there, Cyberwolf. Good to see you. Cyberwolf is a patron, I believe, so it's awesome to have you here. As a DM, what do I do about weapons that players want, such as chakrams, and how do I handle it? Just damage is damage, Walter. So like reflavor the dagger as a chakram, and you can throw a dagger, you can throw a chakram. I don't know. I would just let him have it and say it does 1d4 or 1d6 damage. So, oh man, my favorite deity in the Forgotten Realms pantheon. That is a tough question. I want to say, gosh, there's so many good ones though. Mystra is fun and interesting, and I love Mystra because of her story and what have you. I played a Death Cleric of Loviatar, though, who is the Maiden of Pain. And I think when you play a character when you play a cleric or a monk or somebody that worships a deity, you kind of like become attached to that deity. And so I really liked Loviatar, even though she's 100% evil. In my home game that I DM, we have a monk that is a monk of Savris, and Savris has become, in our game, it's become this running joke of what is the will of Savris, because I gave him an artifact that is basically the Wand of Wonder, but I reskinned it to be like a tiara that he wears, and he hits it, and like Cyclops sends out a beam of magical energy, and we roll on the Wand of Wonder chart for a random effect. And whatever that effect is, we've deemed as the will of Savris. So whether butterflies appear or a fireball occurs, it is the will of Savris. So I really like Savris too because of that game. Yeah. My favorite character in Barovia. I haven't played any games in Barovia, so I don't know. I don't have a favorite character in Barovia. Maybe Strahd, because that's Strahd. Playing as a kobold, I've killed so many kobolds. I know, Ray. It's crazy. What is your stance when an allied NPC becomes a DM PC? I've heard several people talk about the subject like WebDM and Nerdarchy, but I don't believe they explain them well. I do not like DM PCs because it detracts, I feel that it detracts fun away from the players. And the players are the heroes of the story, not the dungeon master. And saying that makes it sound like the dungeon master is just supposed to lose, and that's not it. It's fun being a dungeon master, but it's a different kind of fun than playing a character. And I think DMs who run DMPCs are trying to be in the best of both worlds. So I leave allied, and I have NPCs in my world or in my game. And if my players want to recruit them, I allow them to recruit them. And I kind of let them make the decisions more or less, unless they feel like it's too complicated. And I'll just be like, okay, I'll play this character. But they don't get any loot. They don't get any anything other than they would cut into the experience points that my players get because they have somebody helping them. So... Mr. Razielsbeath, heard a little rumor that you're going to be in a game with Taking 20. Is that for real or just a rumor? I am going to be on Save or Dice. And that has been teased a little bit. Not specifically with Taking 20, and I can't talk more about it, but it's going to be announced really quick or really soon. So you can keep tuned into my YouTube channel or to Taking 20s, but I'm going to be on Save or Dice, but not necessarily in a game with Cody. Wow, lots of good questions. You guys are awesome. Any idea on my next topic after I finish the Forgotten Realms Pantheon? I think I want to go back to doing regions. Like I want to talk about this region, like in the last video that I've been writing about. I was talking about this area called Dambrath, and I had no idea about this area called Dambrath, but it's got this huge, rich history. So I want to kind of go geographically, piece by piece, around the Forgotten Realms. But who knows? Maybe I'll do a poll and see what people are interested. Thoughts on the Greyhawk Pantheon? I don't know the Greyhawk Pantheon that well, other than Vecna. Greyhawk is definitely Greyhawk and Eberron and Dark Sun. I've been kind of researching in hopes that I can make some videos of those on the future, but it's going to be far in the future because I'm just busy with the Saturday morning D&D show and the regular Forgotten Realms Explained. So it's just a lot. And then like my day job, which is busy. So what is your favorite monster to use against players? I love oozes. Really love oozes. And in my last game from Tome of Beasts, there is an oasis that is an ooze. It's called Oozasis. And I finally had them fight that, and that was really fun. Like gelatinous cubes are great. Lots of fun things. I just think oozes are cool. So, how would you feel about using pantheons from the real world like Greek or Norse in D&D? I'm for it. I think it's awesome. I personally really enjoy both Greek and Norse mythology. So if I was running a certain game where I wanted to incorporate those gods, I would do that. If I wanted to run a Dungeons and Dragons like set in the world of Forgotten Realms, obviously I'm not going to use them. Even though some of the Egyptian gods pop up into the Forgotten Realms. So it all depends on how you want to run that particular game. So yeah. You know what's funny is I have this viewer count that doesn't work. I'm going to turn it off. I wonder how many people we got. 48 people in the chat right now. That's awesome. Greek, Norse, and Egyptian are in D&D, says Ray. And you are correct. They're in the player's handbook for sure. Yeah. How are you guys doing today? This is fun. I've never just done a Q&A like this before, but it's kind of fun. 15th level and higher, what is your favorite monster to use? I have not, Beard Bear, I have not run a game at that level. The highest my players have played is level 10. But I would assume a Lich would be fun, or I don't know. I haven't thrown those kind of monsters at my characters yet. Yes, Saber Dice is going to be fun. Please watch. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have loads of fun. I'm nervous because I haven't done a lot of live streaming games before, especially for an audience, and you want to keep it interesting. You want to make it interesting, but the guy that's going to be our DM is really experienced, and I trust him to make a great story and a great game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to play. Any advice for handling a party that is 1/4 people who are the sort of intrigue plotline thing and 3/4 people that are just really looking for adventure? They lack cohesion and are often at odds. That is a tough question. I would before the session begins, just kind of say, here's like the tidbits that I've kind of laid out for you guys, the adventure hooks and what have you. What do you guys want to do? And then ask them as a collective whole. So then those 3 players know that the 4th player is looking kind of for a different game, and maybe you can accommodate there. A lot of that can just be talk to your players and talk to them in a big open setting and ask, like, I want to make this the most fun for all of you. How do you guys feel about this? Or what do you guys feel about this? It can sometimes ruin a surprise that you're trying to set up. But overall, I think players are like, oh, great, that's happening. Like, I'll totally like jump in and do that, you know. But I haven't had a problem like that, so I haven't actually had to address it. Good question, Easty. I'm running a campaign, says Narwhal Titan, with a lot of Far Realm stuff. Any suggestions? Currently, I am using an Alhoun to help them find information. Are you looking for information on the Far Realm, or just how do they navigate the Far Realm? There are some Manual of the Plains books that have some stuff about the Far Realm in it and kind of the weird layers of it. I would give them a ship and maybe they can navigate that way, like a Far Realm submarine or something, and allow them to navigate the Far Realm. It's a weird place. How was your DCC game, Dungeon Crawl Classics game? That's going to be next Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Nerd Immersion's Twitch channel. So I've made my characters, but I haven't played yet. Mr. Jeff is Jeff. What is a fun magical item to give to low-level players? I am a fan of Rings of Invisibility or Wand of Magic Missiles. Again, the Wand of Wonder is really funny, and it doesn't break a lot of things. It just causes chaos on the battlefield. So if your players like that kind of stuff, not pigeons, I think chaos on the battlefield. Have I run any modules? Yes, I ran White Plume Mountain. I've run Tomb of Horrors, and I ran the Keep on Shadowfell for 4th edition. So those are the modules that I have run. Any inclination to create my own setting? It's a lot of work, Benjamin, to create your own setting, and there's a part of me that like creative itch that really wants to make my own setting, but I steal so much. Like even when I'm making just the Forgotten Realms world that I'm in, I'm like, I'm gonna steal this from Al Qadim, and I'm gonna steal this from Eberron, and I'm gonna kind of shape it how it is, or I'm gonna steal this particular scenario from this published adventure that I read. So I don't know. I steal a lot. That it kind of makes sense for me to do this amalgamation when I'm creating my own setting. But I've seen things like Matt Click from Fistful of Dice, like he created this really great world, and Aeronoth, I believe it's called, and it would be fun to do that from the ground up. I actually want to take some of my players and say, let's just roll everything random. So let's like throw a bunch of dice out on the table, and we'll draw a map from where the dice land. We'll draw islands, and then I want to incorporate the players, like what lives in the north? Do giants live in the north? Are there like snow elves that live in the north? What lives in the south? Like is there a desert? And I really want to take like a group of players and build a world like that so that they know the history of the world before they make their characters. I think that would be something interesting to do, but I have yet to be able to do that. So, do you use music in your games? Do you have any that you can recommend? I literally search, when we start playing, I search boss monster music or like epic boss fight music, and I play that on YouTube, and it's just like a mix that we play. And it seems to sync up with our battles well. Like every once in a while, we're just like, this is like epic music for the fight right now. And I'm like, there you go. So I just kind of search YouTube and play random videos that I find while we play. What is the best race in D&D and why is it Gnolls? Good question. Do you prefer to write your story out ahead of time, or do you prefer to improv a lot of the events? I'm the Forsaken. I'm doing a mixture of both right now. I've written out kind of a generic, let me rephrase. In the past, I've written out like everything. And I kind of thought that it would be fun to do that. Now that I'm realizing how creative my players are, or they're actually becoming a little more creative and want to like add into the world, I'm creating a lot of like roll tables and just random events. And I'm allowing them to push the story and make up the world as we go. So I'm really excited for them to get to this city called Wasat that I have put in my game, because they're going to hopefully like help me create the city. Like, do you want there to be an apothecary? Do you want there to be like a graveyard close by? What do you want? And we can like build it together. So in that sense, I'm trying to use improv more. They both have merits. They're both fun, but yeah. Boy, questions galore. Liches are fun if they get old. If you know the process, kill Lich. He comes back, find the phylactery, and destroy. Death Knights are crazy fun. Good to know. I want to run Storm King's Thunder for some friends, but haven't played before. How important is it for the players to know the Forgotten Realms setting, and with which of your videos would help? I don't like, this sounds weird, Carl, but I don't think you need to know anything about the Forgotten Realms to start playing Storm King's Thunder. They can kind of explore on their own as long as you know it, which I bought Storm King's Thunder because it has a lot of history or geography of the realms in it. And it has a lot of like, you can do this in this town and you can do this in this town. So if you kind of present like, here are the areas you can explore. I think it's in chapter 3, they kind of just open up the book to where they can explore random areas. Then yeah, I lost my train of thought there. But as far as recommending my videos, especially the Forgotten Realms Explained playlist is kind of like a broad overview of the realms. I haven't done those little geographical areas, but like, I don't know. It's weird for me to not promote my own videos, but I don't even think they need to like watch those to really just dive in and have fun. They'll figure it out as they go. And if they ask you questions, that's good. Or if they're curious, point them to my channel. They could definitely watch those. Matthew, hey brother, really enjoy your videos. They are well researched and super enjoyable. Thank you, Matthew McFadden. Thank you very much. That is nice of you to say. Which books do you usually read? What kind of stuff do you stolen and implemented in your campaigns? Right now I'm reading a lot of Spelljammer, because I'm interested in Spelljammer. But the campaign that I'm currently running, I was reading a lot of Al-Qadim stuff from 2nd edition. So like genies and desert cities and just like the life of the desert. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff in those older books about the whole realm of Zakara and just how big it is and all this stuff. So this city Wasat is called the Middle City, and it's part of like these other larger cities. But I basically just stole that town and I put it in my game without like all of these other connecting cities. But it's, yeah, so I really like Al-Qadim. I like Aladdin and things like that. I just love those old Sinbad. I love mythology like that. So it's really awesome. Yeah. How would you explain a city in the Underdark that would be as safe for the PCs as safe as the Underdark can be? I was thinking a Mycon village. A Mycon village would be kind of interesting. Honestly, there's trade places in the Underdark, so anything that is a central trade area where the dwarves, because like money runs in the Underdark, people still want money, drow and elves and stuff, so they'll get along enough to trade and yeah, basically trade and sell and buy. So I would make it like a market town and just be like, this whole town works because everybody is greedy. So yeah. Hey, Michael Schmitz here. Michael, the OG, the October Geek. Welcome, Michael. And my phone's beeping. Lex Mandrake, hi. What are your primary references for your lore videos, books or internet or more obscure stuff like Dragon Magazine issues? Dragon Magazine helps a lot. I dig through a lot of those old issues. For the Pantheon series, Faiths and Avatars and Faiths and Pantheon, is that what it is? I've got a couple PDFs that I bought off of DriveThruRPG that have lots of information on the gods. So I use those primarily for the god videos. For the geography videos, I don't know yet. When I get to those, I will figure it out, which has kind of been the whole channel as a whole. I just kind of go through and I'm like, yeah, like, let's try this. Let's dig. And that's been the whole channel, was just like, can I find information on this and how much do I have to dig? And some topics I have to dig a whole bunch, and other topics I don't have to dig a whole bunch. Please tell me, in your world, the Netherese never fell. I'm happy with a lie too. I know, Mr. L. I do love the Netherese. It would be fun to run and I think there is a story out there, like a published adventure where you go back in time and you try to like prevent the Netherese from from destroying itself, but that would be a lot of fun. Do you have experience with a player getting an artifact that makes them too powerful for your game? That's pretty much all of my players right now, because I was really generous with my giving out of magical items. Nothing that's like breaking them, but they, like, just the other day I threw what should have been a super deadly encounter, and they escaped with ease. Or I shouldn't just say escaped, they defeated it with ease. And I know for a fact it's because I've given them too many magical items. But part of the fun of my players is they like collecting loot, and I know that. So I've kind of been a little more generous than I would have in other games, just because I know my players. Any 3rd edition books you recommend for use with 5e? I like, like the Manual of the Plains books are good. There's lots of 3.5 books that are awesome. Grand History to the Realms, if you're interested in the Forgotten Realms. Although I should tell you, it reads like stereo instructions, but it is a good resource if you're interested in the Forgotten Realms. I'm just going to look at my PDF folder. City of Splendor's Waterdeep is a 3.5 book. That's really good. The Forgotten Realms Campaign Sitting, 3.5. Faith in Pantheons, 3.5 is really good. Dragons of Faerun is really good. Races of Faerun is really good. Serpent Kingdoms is a really good 3.5 book. There's lots of awesome lore in some of those books, and then they accompany it with here's some monster stats, or here's some players options, and you can reskin those or whatever, but I like it for the lore, so I buy a lot of those for the lore. I run lots of villains with epic plots. That's great, Easty. I love it. Thank you for making your videos, says AG. I've never played D&D, but the lore is interesting to me, and you break it down in a way that's accessible and entertaining. You are welcome. That's awesome. I'm glad that you like it. Favorite board game, Zachary Carson. Favorite board game is Betrayal at House on the Hill. I love that game. And actually, we are playing it tonight with some friends that are coming over, and I plan on drinking some beer and playing either Betrayal at House on the Hill, or I think they bought Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, so we might play that one because we're all D&D nerds. So that could be fun. But either way, it's the same game. I love that game. I love that everybody kind of works together until there's a villain, and then it's 4 people versus 1 person. It's just, I really, really love that game. Yeah. Although I just bought the Scott Pilgrim card game called Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Card Game, and that is a close second for my new favorite board game. It's really addicting. And if you like Scott Pilgrim, which I love Scott Pilgrim, it's awesome. What's my favorite edition of D&D, and what makes you like it more than other editions? So I've played 2nd edition, and I liked it just fine. I don't know, I got kind of confused by it, but that was the 1st edition that I ever played, and we literally only played for 3 weeks, and then the whole group kind of broke up. I played 4th edition, and I don't hate it as much as everybody else. I have a soft spot in my heart for 4th edition because we played it for a year and a half, but I would have to say 5th edition. I'm late to this though. I didn't really start playing RPGs until 5 years ago or so. So before that was just video games and reading lots of Norse mythology books because I enjoy that. I'm running Horde of the Dragon Queen. Any tips on making the Cult of the Dragon more intimidating or factions like the Harpers more appealing? I have not run or read Horde of the Dragon Queen, not Pigeons, so I'm not really sure. But money or items could always make the Harpers more appealing. Having them say, we will come and resurrect your character for free could be an appeal for joining. Favorite elemental plane? I don't think I have one, but maybe the plane of fire, because I like the City of Brass and I like fire elementals or fire ifrits and stuff. So that probably, we'll say plane of elemental fire. Do I have any experience creating my own gods? No, I don't, Matthew. No, sorry. I would pick, if I was creating my own god, I would pick some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of idea or ideal, like love or lust or nature, and then I would go backwards from there to create something that personifies that, some anthropomorphic personification of love. What does that mean? And honestly, I probably would steal or borrow a bunch from Greek mythology because that's where we get a lot of these gods from. So, What board games do I have in my background? Says How to D&D. I've got Legend of Dritz, Castle Ravenloft, the Planeswalker, Magic the Gathering, the game, Scott Pilgrim's game, Betrayal at House on the Hill, Smash Up, King of Tokyo, and Monopoly and Upwards. So not all of my games. Around the corner, there's some more games, but that's the shelf behind me. Yeah. Any recommendations for fun one-shots, Carl? I would recommend... I wrote one called Dragon on the Mount that I'm currently like reformulating because I want to put it into... I want to submit it to the DMs Guild. But if you search for Dragon on the Mount on my YouTube channel, there should be a PDF in the description. And it's a fun little like 3 to 4 hour one-shot. You can try that one. As far as other one-shots, I don't know, because one-shots always felt like something that I would write rather than I would purchase, because it just seems like, well, if it's only like 3 hours of D&D, I can make a 3-hour one-shot, so I haven't read a lot of one-shots. You own all the books that I mentioned. Cool. When starting a new game, what kind of ground rules or limitations, if any, do you set for your players? Cooperate is one. I don't want players to have like, I'm lawful evil and you're chaotic good, so we just can't get along. Like, I would just say, like, you guys are adventurers. Maybe you're not friends, but you do have some kind of goal to be together and work together. And you need to figure out what that is, because it is there. Because the more you're like fighting with each other, which has happened with my players, I'm like, you guys can fight all you want, but like, is that fun? And they kind of shake their heads. They're like, no, it's not really fun on either side. And I'm like, well, then work together, because that's kind of fun. I usually include any races and stuff. I even have some homebrew races. Like, one of my players is playing a giant mouse right now. And as long as even if a player came to me, as long as I could read it and approve it. But haven't had, lots of questions. This is awesome. Let's check over here. 56 people. Are you looking forward to Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes? I am super looking forward to it because, one, they talk about the planes, so I'm hoping more people will research the planes and find my videos. That'll be fun. But I'm excited to know more information about the Blood War. It seems like there's lots of lore. And also, as my players reach levels 10, 11, and 12, I'm excited to have more higher CR monsters as well. Because the way we're playing, like, we could hypothetically go all the way to 20, which seems absurd to me, but my players have stuck with me for the last like 4 years. So yeah. I was late to the stream. Have you already given your thoughts on the new Wizards of the Coast book? If not, what do you think? No, I just gave my thoughts right there, Michael, but it seems like a great book. I'm really excited for it. So, are you? It's moving too fast. Would you love to see a video on Drow? Would love to see a video on the Drow, especially the House of Menzo Berenzin. Yeah, I've read a lot of the Dritz books, and I feel more comfortable making a video on those because I've read those books. I'll get a lot of people asking me for Elminster videos, and I've only read one Elminster book, and I didn't particularly enjoy it enough to continue reading the series. So I always feel more hesitant about making a video about him. And not that I would make a video on Dritz or Drizzt. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry, guys. I wouldn't make a video on, but Menzo Berenzin is really interesting, and just Drow Society in general would be fun. Favorite video game? Any that particularly inspire you as a DM player? I love Neverwinter Nights, and I'm really excited for Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. Right now I'm actually playing Guild Wars 2. I bought the expansions for that. I don't know why. I was like, why did I buy this? This is just a time sink, but I'm having a lot of fun with that. I don't have like when I was a kid, it was Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6 on the Super Nintendo. Like, I loved that game so much, and I could sit down and probably play through it again today if I really wanted to. But yeah, like old Super Nintendo days. I love Mega Man. Mega Man's some of my favorite games. Mega Man X4 is probably my favorite Mega Man game. So yeah. If one of my players would encounter a random organization like the Harpers or the Zentarum, how do you handle those NPCs just like quest givers? Yeah, if they've got quests to give, or if they're trying to recruit people, I would just be like, here's our organization. We can recruit you however you want. Jordan, would you recommend a paladin with several deities? No, because some of those deities have different, unless they were friends, I guess, because some of the deities are friends, but I would have them stick to one. It just makes things more simple and it makes their ideals simpler. They're not like, oh, but one god says this and one god says this. They can just kind of whatever. Adam Holcomb, do you play Adventures League? I do. I started going to Adventures League because I wanted to play more games, and I was curious about the format of Adventures League. So I've gone 3 times. I'm now a level 2 bard, and I'm really excited, half-elf bard, and I've been having mixed success with Adventures League. The first night I went, I had a lot of fun. The second night I did not have fun. And the third time I went, we had 8 people at the table, which is too many. And it was really chaotic, but I had a good time overall, but I was just like, this is too chaotic. Well, this needed to be like 2 different groups, but yeah. How would you make a cleric paladin of Ilmater that doesn't piss off the party by healing the enemies? Don't heal the enemies, spare the dying them at the end, and maybe like tie them up. Try to imprison them. Ilmater wants to help people, but he also recognizes the difference between good and evil. So I would recognize the difference between good and evil. Have you heard of the Night Wolf Inn? I have not. I have not heard of it. No, sorry, Mr. Jeff. Valentine, hello. My PH wasn't silent. Forgive me. I forgive you. Would you put a deck of many things in one of your campaigns? The deck of many things is what ended our 2nd edition campaign. We threw that in there. People were blasted to other outer planes. Somebody died instantly, and somebody got like 3 people or 3 servants that would follow them around forever. And so it was one of those like, why did we do this? It just kind of ruined the game. So no plans yet, because my personal experience is that it ruins games. But Matt Colville had an interesting where he was like, he kind of padded the deck with more positive cards. And if I knew that there wasn't like the detrimental stuff in there that could like end the game, both positive and negative, then maybe I'd be more inclined to use the deck of many things. Have you ever thought about playing Adventure League? I am playing an Adventure League, so yes, I have thought about it. Favorite snack or drink during the game? Does beer count? Because I enjoy beer when I play video games. Do you have a DM's binder? And if yes, what's in it? I do have a DM's binder. And it's right here. Right now, it is full of notes for my desert encounters and what have you. It is also full of some maps for that same thing. I have a whole section on Vornheim. So Vornheim is a really great book about building cities. And I stole some of the things from that book. Well, I say stole, like I bought it, but I printed out some of the major things that I enjoy about making and building and crafting cities, and I put that in my DM's binder. So I recommend Vornheim. I've got a whole section on traps in here. I've got some unearthed arcana about like when armies clash, encounter building, etc. I've also got some armors and weapons and interesting things like here so I can know how much stuff it is. From Be a Better Game Master, I have their add fun and flavorful weapons to your RPGs. So that's in my book. I've got some weapon effects, potion tables, shopping lists, weather effects, spell scrolls. That's kind of what's in my DM's binder. I also have another one that has more when I'm struggling to create a campaign, and that's got like the dungeon alphabet, which is a really great PDF that's out there, that has like A is for altars and D is for doors and T is for traps. And it's got a whole bunch of roll tables about creating, rooms and stuff. So I use the dungeon alphabet a lot when I'm creating stuff like that. Yeah, it's fun. Guild Wars 2 is a great game. Yeah, it's pretty fun. And Final Fantasy 6 is a great game. Secret of Mana Valentine, are you playing the new release of Secret of Mana? Because I saw it's on Steam or something, I think. Any name ideas for a Drow Hexblade Warlock for a one-night story? No, No, I'm bad with names. I would go to Xanathar's Guide and I flip through the names in the back because that's what I do when I need a name. I'm really happy they put that in there. We need something like Tinder for finding D&D players to play with. I agree. I've gone to my local gaming store trying to find people to play with, but it's finding the right people is difficult. I've been very blessed with my current group of players, but I would like to play at least 2 games a week. I think I need to play more D&D. And then I wouldn't have to go to Adventures League. I could just play with people I enjoy. If you are a paladin with Torm, Tyr, and Helm, since the background in Xanathar's lost notes to everything else, have a BG heretic and they can believe they are 3 gods as one of the 8 choices. Which books do you recommend for a new DM? Dungeon Alphabet is really good. Trying to think of like, what books do I have? Sly Flourish's novel, The Lazy Dungeon Master, is actually really good and changed a lot about how I prep my games. So, do you prefer to use devils or demons? I think I like demons more because I like the chaotic nature of them. Yeah. Do you go to any big D&D cons? I haven't, but Sir Lucian, who is my co-host on the Saturday morning show, he's going to Gen Con, and he's trying to get me to go. But I'm also flying to Thailand here in a couple months for my honeymoon. And so I keep telling him, I'm like, I kind of need to get through that before I start thinking about other things, but I need to start thinking about Gen Con now. So I might go to Gen Con and sleep on his floor. We'll see. Because I think all of the hotels are already gone because Gen Con is crazy like that. You're playing it on Steam? Yeah, cool. I heard that it is on Steam. So Irises shall marsh. One of my favorite characters I ever played was a gnome thief cleric. What are your thoughts on a game with obviously flawed characters? No backstab. I liked flawed characters. I think the flaws make your character interesting. So having at least 1 or 2 is a necessity at my table. Because you're going to get more interesting stuff happening out of the person who's like, well, I'm an alcoholic. And so when they're put in a social situation where they're going to drink too much because they play towards their flaws, that makes for a more interesting scene. Or I'm a kleptomaniac makes for a more interesting scene than I'm just an upright good person. So those flaws is what defines us as a character. So I would definitely recommend those. Yes. Sly Flourish has another book, and he's got a Kickstarter for it for a new Lazy Dungeon Master book. So you guys should go check that out. It should be really cool. And I'm excited to read it. His first book's great, and it's super, super helpful. Which of your previously made videos do you have the most difficulty making or researching? That's a good question. I'm trying to think now. Maybe I'll just look at my videos quick. There's not a lot of information on the creation story. There's not a lot of information on that. And when I was doing the planes, between Planescape and 4th edition, like there was so much stuff that changed, that I would say the planes and the, just because of 4th edition, the planes, and then the origin story, because there was an origin story, and then 4th edition kind of like defined it better, but retconned some stuff, so it was really confusing. And also the Sundering. I'm still confused by the Sundering. I don't really know what it was other than the big reset to make the world like 3.5 and 2nd edition again. They just kind of got rid of a lot of the stuff that people were upset about. And I think that's kind of sad to the people that were invested in those other things, to hit the reset button on it like that. But people are more or less happy with the world of D&D right now. So yeah. Hockey Mike 25, just want to thank you for all your Forgotten Realms videos. My players are impressed with my knowledge of the Pantheon, and it's adding a lot of flavor to my campaign. That's great. That's exactly why I started making these videos, because I was hoping people would be able to use them in their game. So that's awesome. Even if you don't play in the Forgotten Realms, it can inspire you. So that's awesome. Anthony Rose, what is your favorite monster to use against players? We kind of talked about this earlier. I like jellies and oozes. So gelatinous cube, and recently my players just fought an oozasis, which is from Tome of Beasts, which is an oasis ooze that is like the size of a lake. That was really cool to fight and like engulf players in and stuff. Yeah, it was fun. Any advice dealing with annoying players that won't listen? Ooh, Carl. Like at my table, I let the players kind of just talk it out and acknowledge that like extra talking will happen. People will just want to talk about their day sometimes, or they'll remember that something cool happened and they want to tell you about it. And so I kind of let that happen. But boy, I was at Adventures League the other day and this guy just like would not shut up and focus on the game. And it really frustrated me, but I didn't feel like it was my place because I wasn't the DM to say something, but I don't even know how the DM would have handled it other than just like, hey guys, can we focus, So, I don't know. I don't really have a good thing other than like talk to your players. That's kind of what I would do. The Forsaken, you have to go, but I need to do another Q&A. I will think about that. This has been fun. So, and I'm not done yet, guys, but yeah, we'll definitely do another Q&A. Do you like my swivel back and forth? Because I'm fidgeting in my chair. It's awesome. Your Matt Colville April Fool's video is awesome. Please make another one. Also, would you please say doobly-doo? Sure, doobly-doo. Which everybody says, oh my gosh, you must watch Matt Colville because you say doobly-doo. But before I watched Matt Colville, I watched Wheezy Waiter. And Wheezy Waiter started the phrase doobly-doo for the description. And if you do like search like know your meme doobly-doo, it'll pop up and it's like Craig something or other, who is Wheezy Waiter on YouTube, is coined the term doobly-doo when talking about the description in the YouTube comments video or the YouTube description. And Matt Colville took that because lots of YouTubers use that, not just Matt Colville, but everyone, because Matt Colville's popular in the RPG community, everyone's like, oh, Jordan stole it from there. And I'm like, well, technically lots of us use that, but yeah, Michael, I gotta start cracking. I've got a couple of ideas for another April Fool's video. I don't know if they'll happen just because I have to get other friends to come in and help me make it. And it's kind of based on their schedule as well. But I have like a month or so, a month and like 10 days to get it done. So we'll see if it happens. No promises, but I had a lot of fun making the Matt Colville video and I'd like to make another one because now it's kind of like, it'll be tradition if I make it 2 years in a row. So that'll be fun. I wonder if Matt remembers that because he tweeted about that when I did it last April Fool's. He retweeted he was like, hey, everybody, I made a video on parody, and he retweeted my video as like a joke. And now we're going to have him on the show, on the Saturday morning D&D show next Saturday. I should ask him if he remembers me, or if is that too pretentious? Be like, actually, I don't know if you remember this, but that might be too pretentious. I'll just stick with like cool questions about his Kickstarter. Have you ever had to stop a campaign due to players not getting along? Yes. Beard Bear, we had my 4th edition game. We were playing with some couples, and one of the couples, they broke up. The guy and the girl broke up. And the girl just said, well, my boyfriend can still play, but I don't want to, or my ex-boyfriend can still play, but I'll just like not come anymore because she didn't want it to be weird. But the problem is we all really liked her and we didn't really like him. So if we had to choose between which one was staying, we wanted her to stay because he kind of just caused problems and was really awkward at the table. And after like 2 sessions of that, we closed down the whole game because my whole table was just like, we don't want to play with him anymore. And things just got weird because he was really he was like really hurt about being dumped and kind of was, lots of awkward stuff there. So yes, I have had that happen. And what we did is we just shut down the game. And I think it was like a month later, I got back with some of those people and said, hey, do you want to start a new game? And we did. And as far as I know, that guy found another group too. We're not friends really, but like, I think he found another group and he continued to play D&D. So he just needed to find his niche of people too, that you like to play with. Favorite animal companion? I don't know. The octopus popped into my head, giant octopus. Oh, you know what? Frog. I want to play a druid that turns into a frog with like a frog companion. So I definitely will say frogs. I love frogs or giant toads or something. I think that would be a lot of fun. So, favorite demon lord would have to be Juiblix. I just find him really interesting that he's this force of nature more than he's this plotting demon lord. I really like Juiblix. I need some coffee. I want a setting where the world is run by an evil empire that my characters are on the run from. I want to give the players a mobile headquarters, but I don't want to give them my PCs, an airship, or a ship ideas. A walking castle could be good, or a teleporting castle. Like maybe every morning it randomly teleports between one of 4 points that you decide. So they have to decide, okay, we're going to go to one of these 4 points, but we don't know which one. And then you roll a d4 and see where the castle teleports you. That could be interesting. And it only happens at sunrise. So yeah. And if you're, I don't know. I just kind of came up with that, but I like that idea. Favorite demon lord, we did that one. What are your ways to find inspiration, especially for an improvised situation? I get a lot of inspiration from my players because sometimes I'll just ask them, like, what color is this house, or how old is this NPC? Because I don't know. And they'll say, oh, I think he's like, I pictured him as just really old, because usually before you even describe somebody, they have an idea. Like if you say, hey, my name is Jareth, they think Jareth is like a 20-something whatever ranger. And so I ask them for inspiration. I read a lot of older adventures because I find D&D interesting. So I read a lot of older adventures, and I get a lot of inspiration from just reading older adventures. Like I'm reading a lot of Spelljammer now, and I'm getting super inspired to run a Spelljammer game because of the adventures and like the places that they go in the adventures. And I'm like, this would be a fun place. And like, oh, they like stopped off on an asteroid. Like that sounds like a great idea. There is a like weird space worm that is basically a termite for Spelljammer ships. And it destroys your ship as it like reproduces and eats away at your ship. And so that was something that I was inspired of. And I would like, my players could run into space termites. That could be a challenge that they have. So read a lot of older adventures. Yeah, that's what I do. I like it. Would you consider naming a character with a PH that is hard or is not silent in its name? I would consider naming a character with a PH. Sure, why not? It doesn't always have to be silent. It's just silent in my name, you know. What was one of your favorite characters to play, either backstory or mechanically? Backstory-wise, I really liked my Death Cleric of Loviatar, Nick Brady. He was a Goliath, and the backstory was that he was from a tribe that like worships pain, and so he was a cleric of Loviatar, and he came to society to be an adventurer and like grow and take on the pains of the world. But it was this idea that like you define yourself through the pain that you endure. And I just kept thinking of like existence is pain, which always reminds me of the Meeseeks from Rick and Morty, where they just flat out say like existence is pain because they don't want to be there anymore. So yeah, I would definitely have to say that it was that one. Gave my characters a ghost ship. That was fun. That does sound fun. Have you tried any of the sci-fi RPGs? Nope. I've played Dungeons and Dragons, the various editions of Dungeons and Dragons. I played a really long game of Deadlands, which is the Weird West, like zombies and stuff in the Old West, and that was a lot of fun. But I haven't played any sci-fi RPGs, although Sir Lucian is trying to get me to play like a Star Trek one, and I love Star Trek, so I was like, no, that'd be great. And I've been watching Shield of Tomorrow to try and grasp my head around the rules of the new Star Trek adventure game. But and that's a great show on Geek and Sundry. They do an excellent job and make it really interesting. That is the plot from Kroll. You are correct, Anthony Rolls. That's probably where I got that idea. But if you can't decide where the castle goes, like it can only go to like one of 4 points, and you have to roll a d4, but you can choose those 4 points. That seems like a fun mechanic. But yeah, the teleporting castle from Kroll. I love Kroll. That movie's so cheesy and so bad. The making of Kroll is really interesting because they thought it was going to blow up like Star Wars. Like the actors on that set were just like, this is the next big thing. Like this is going to be huge because Star Wars just caught everybody off guard. Like nobody was prepared for how successful that movie was going to be. And so they're just like, people want giant like fantasy operas. Like let's make a movie called Kroll and it's going to, we're going to even have this thing from space crash down and it's going to be this evil from space. And after that, they're going to have to like take off of the planet Kroll and like go, hop about the universe. Like I want to see Kroll too. Like someday I hope that it's going to be like 2025. We're at the very bottom of the barrel for reboots of movies and they're going to reboot Kroll and it's going to be a huge success. And I'm going to be so happy because I love Kroll. What is your process for building characters, players or non-players? Do you start with a race class or a narrative hook? Cyberwolf, I usually start when I'm making a character, I usually start with some kind of narrative hook, but more often than that, I'll start with a mechanic. So like I made a sorcerer that kind of revolved around the Shadow Blade spell. Is that what it's called? Shadow Blade? It's the like psychic blade that you can create. It's in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. And it's a 2nd level spell, but I really loved that spell. And I'm like, how can I build a character around that spell? So I ended up building this drow sorcerer. And then because it was a drow sorcerer and drows are usually wizards, they're not sorcerers. So like I built this backstory of like, well, what happened to this sorcerer that he gained this magic and all this other stuff. And that was an entire character that I built that I've never played. I just like thought it would be fun to build a character around this mechanic. And I ended up building like an entire backstory for this drow sorcerer. And he's just sitting in a folder somewhere that if I ever get a chance to play, I'll definitely like pull it out and play my little sorcerer. So I kind of do that. Like I'll revolve a character around a spell or a mechanic, not to like break it, but like for example, in the one shot that I played on Unmade Gaming's YouTube or Twitch channel for charity for Extra Life, I played a Turtle Druid, and I played the Spore Druid. And so the idea was like, not a mechanic, but just like the idea of the spores really got me thinking that it was this really gross, disgusting turtle that kind of like had this cloud of stuff about him. And I really liked that idea of just really gross and icky. So then I made all of his spells kind of be necrotic and things like that, which turned out to be a terrible idea because we fought nothing but undead that all had resistance or immunity to necrotic damage. So half of my spells were useless, but the character concept I really enjoyed. So maybe a teleporting tavern. I like that idea too. Have you ever, or would you ever run an evil campaign? Probably not. I don't think I ever will. Maybe I'm just a goody two shoes, but I like being the good guy and I like saving it. And I like that there's an evil to overcome. I don't like pushing people to make evil choices. Not that I would have to push them, I guess, but it would kind of be like, I don't know. It just seems too complicated. I don't think I would ever do an evil campaign. Just doesn't seem fun for me, but you said you're going on your honeymoon soonish. Do we get to meet your significant other? She is out right now, which is kind of why I'm doing this right now, but she is not here. So no, but maybe at some point in the future you can meet her. She's a wonderful lady. For Deadlands, was it first edition or Savage World? It was first edition, Anthony. The Savage World edition was not something that my Dungeon Master or Marshall was interested in running. So would you ever try a Star Wars RPG? I'd try it. Like, why not? Like, it seems like it could be a lot of fun. I like Star Wars. I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan, but I enjoy the movies. I've never read a Star Wars book or anything, but I enjoy the movies a whole bunch. Yeah. So I'd try just about anything once, like be fun. I think it'd be fun to be a droid. Like I'd want to be like an R2-D2 or some kind of droid. If you could play that in a Star Wars RPG, I think that would be a lot of fun. I feel like I'm losing my voice. I'm talking so much. Yes. Do you prefer episodic big story campaigns? I do. I have done a lot. I like that there might be 4 or 5 mini bosses, but they're all being controlled by some major boss, or maybe an evil artifact or something was controlling them. And so defeating these 4 mini bosses will give them 4 or 5 different pieces of the puzzle that they can then put together to stop the big bad evil guy at the end of the campaign. So I like episodic stuff like that. I think it's really fun. And that's how I've run my games in the past, is things like that. So, Liam Neeson is great, yes. What is the most unique player character for a campaign that I've ran? Unique? I don't know. I had a dwarf druid who changed into sea creatures, and he ran a ship on the ocean of Faerun. His goal was to mine the ocean floor. He was a dwarf druid that wanted to figure out a way of mining the ocean floor, that there was just like untapped minerals and metals. Oh, excuse me. Untapped minerals and metals and stuff there. So he was pretty unique, I thought. My players, when he finally transformed, everybody thought he was a were creature. And I'm like, no, he's a druid. He can just transform into a giant octopus and stuff like that. But he's not like a were creature, but they were convinced that he was some evil were creature. But that was fun. That was a fun adventure, high seas adventure of him. And then they were like drinking water breathing potions to go down to the bottom of the ocean, mine for a little bit and come back up. And they developed a lot of this. We had to figure out ways of getting the stuff off the bottom of the ocean. And then there were, evil pirate ships and stuff. That was a lot of fun. How often do you play in a campaign compared to dungeon mastering one? I rarely play, because I figured out a long time ago that if I wanted to be in a game, I'm going to have to be the one that runs it, because none of my friends were interested in being a dungeon master. So there's one girl at my table, and she just bought the DMG, and she's becoming more interested in being a dungeon master. So I'm hoping she comes and says, well, I'm going to run a game, and then Jordan, you can play in it. So we'll see if that happens. But I mostly DM. I very rarely play, which is another reason I started going to Adventures League, is because I wanted an excuse to play. Like, I wanted to be able to play, and you can just show up to Adventures League and play a game. So, although running that, I'm even like, and I have a lot of fun being a dungeon master, to the point where I was playing my character at Adventures League, and I'm like, I should just run Adventures League. Like, these guys are too slow, or like the DM was doing something that I didn't really like, and I'm just kind of like, for instance, the DM ruled that my Bard Vicious Mockery spell wouldn't work on beasts, wouldn't work on these rats that we were fighting, because the rats didn't understand common. And I was like, no, I don't think that's how Vicious Mockery works. Like, Vicious Mockery is psychic damage. It would work regardless. The creature just has to be able to hear me. But the DM ruled it incorrect, or I say incorrectly, but the DM ruled it differently. And I was like, I wish I was running this, because I would say, good job, clever player. Let's implement that. But maybe the rules of Adventure League prohibited him from doing it. Hey, AJ Pickett's here. Hi, AJ. Nice to see you. How's New Zealand? I missed some questions. How do you think an Asmar cleric of Lathander would deal with someone that I know is a very bad person, but hasn't revealed his true colors to the group? Probably not preventative. Drawing cards was a lot of fun. Yes, for Deadlands. Probably do not preventative damage. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard playing those characters where, again, that's where I would say the party has to try and get along. They have to do things, but they have to work together. If they aren't going to work together, and they're going to like fight because one person's like, well, I'm going to kill this guy, and the other one's like, I can't allow you to kill that guy, there's got to be a compromise there. So I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that one. Thoughts on D&D Beyond? I don't like the idea of buying my books twice. I've perused it a little bit, and it seems like a great resource. I wish the character builder was free. And I wouldn't have to buy all of the classes and books and stuff in order to build my characters, because I love that it does all the math, and I can kind of just pull down pull menus and stuff. Like, that's really great. More purple, more betters, Excel sheet character builder was really great, but he got a cease and desist order from Wizards of the Coast because they were launching D&D Beyond and they wanted people to use that rather than his really awesome Excel sheet. So I just don't want to buy my books twice. Maybe if I play more games online but I don't play my games online. I really play them at home and we just flip through the books. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, it seems like a great resource. It just doesn't seem like it's a great resource for me. So, what mic do you use? I have a Blue Yeti mic. It looks like that. It just sits quietly out of frame. So, really great. I bought it just because I wanted to start doing YouTube stuff. And like, if you Google, like, what's a good YouTube mic, they say the Blue Yeti, and it's been a great mic. So I really like it. Learning a lot about audio, especially trying to do this podcast for my Patreon people. I said, if I got to $100 on Patreon, I would start a podcast. And boy, that has been stressful because I didn't really know how to do anything like that. So I'm going to be recording the first one tonight. After I do this live stream, some friends are going to come over and we're going to record the first podcast and we'll see how it goes. And if you're curious about listening to that, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 or $2. How would you make an NPC villain that you don't want your PCs to kill? Like an NPC who starts out as a villain but becomes an ally later on. How would you make an NPC villain that you don't want your PCs to kill? Have him grovel, maybe. Say, could I be locked up? Say he has information that he like wants to trade his life for that information. So maybe they can like lock him up, rather than kill him. And then later when they need more information, they could come back and he could actually join them and become an ally. I think there's got to be something bigger than him and he has to provide a use. So figure out a way for him to be useful, I would think. Oh, AJ, you have great videos. I'm happy that I am one of your favorite channels. You are also making some great stuff out there. What do you usually have behind your DM screen? I have my DM notebook that has all my stuff. I've got my dice. I've got a little tin full of gems that I use for markers and monsters and stuff when I don't have tokens. And a beer, because I have a beer behind my DM screen because that's how I play D&D. So yeah. Sorry, AJ Pickett says he fully agrees not wanting to buy the books twice. Just give him a subscription option. And maybe if it was like $5, even $10 a month and you had access to everything, that might be a little more I don't know. Even then, I don't know if I would do it, but but that might be something that would be more interesting. So I don't know. Guys, I started streaming, but I didn't hit record again. So hopefully YouTube records this. I think YouTube does record all of the streams, but I didn't hit record again. I got to remember to do that in the future. What is your least favorite spell for a player to cast in game? Least favorite spell. I don't think guidance kind of is annoying because it's a cantrip and they can kind of just like, oh, I give him guidance. Oh, I give him guidance. And I'm like, should we just assume that he always has a D4 on everything that he makes when we're out of combat? Like, is that how we want to handle this? Yeah, I don't know. Guidance is something that is frustrating to me. My rogue was killed by our blood hunter since I murder a child in front of her since I was sure they helped their father kidnap me and torture me. Fails death save. That's rough. A sub option would be good. D&D Beyond Builder is free with SRD material. Yeah, but D&D Beyond is not owned by Wizards of the Coast. It's licensed by Cursed, which is owned by Twitch. Oh, I didn't know that. There you go. The more you know. Inspirations for making villains. Choose an evil god. Like, go through and just choose an evil god and start a cult. Choose an evil monster. Like, find some evil monster or demon or something and say there's a cult that revolves around them. And then you can make cultists and you can make themed things. Like, I had this idea of the of like Jeweeblix. Like, what if there was a cult of Jeweeblix? What would that look like? And then the leader of that cult could actually be a sentient black pudding that has like odoed himself to look like a human, but is not human, is actually like this amorphous blob. So I don't know. Like, cults are a dime a dozen, and it's a great way to run a one shot and things like that, and to make villains. Villains kind of just spring up too the more I think about where a campaign's going. Like my original one, I wanted my original game that I was running the very first time I started DMing 5th edition. I had the villain be this evil dragon named Scatha. And I started researching purple dragons for some reason from 4th edition lore. And I was researching, or not 4th edition lore, but they were in a 4th edition books that I owned. And I was researching purple dragons. And purple dragons are like psychic dragons. And so I had this idea of like, what if a dragon was trying to ascend to be a god, and it was doing that by mind controlling worshipers? So if it could mind control enough creatures to worship it, it could then ascend and become a god. And so that was the whole campaign, is that there was a cult of drow that were trying to help this underdark purple dragon gain enough worshipers to ascend to godhood. And I bring back Savras, is the god of divination. Savras sent our adventurers to stop it. And so he was guiding them through their adventure to prevent this purple dragon from basically mind controlling the entire planet, to then become the ultimate god because it had all of the worshipers. That doesn't really help or answer your question about creating villains, but I feel like the more you research and read, they kind of just come about organically. So maybe that would help. I don't know. What is your opinion on a world where the laws of the world are switched around? Killing, murdering, and stealing are legal, but helping someone, reviving them, and preaching a religion about a good God. Sounds like a post-apocalyptic world, stoned beyond belief. So yeah, like something like Dark Sun or something, where murder is commonplace, but helping people is weird, because what do you get out of helping somebody? Nothing. But if I murder you, I can take the things that you own. I can take the water that you're drinking. So, yeah, I think it could work. So, not a fan of Detect Magic, says AJ Pickett. Yeah, that's another one where, because they can just say, well, I'm going to take 10 minutes and cast this. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, actually, I'm going to answer 2 more questions, and then I think we're going to wrap up this stream because it's been over an hour now. But this has been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. We have 53 people or so this was super fun. If you could be on any streamed game, which would it be? I want to be DM'd by Chris Perkins. I want to be in some game where he runs it. You guys should all message Chris Perkins or Holly Conrad or Pro Jared and say, can Jordan be on Dice Camera Action? He's a really cool guy. Because that would be fun. I watch Dice Camera Action, not religiously, but I'll catch like certain episodes when something cool really happens, because there's just so much content out there to watch that I don't have enough time to watch it all. But I love the Acquisitions Incorporated games, and I just like Chris Perkins as a DM. I'd love to be DM'd by him sometime. And let's get a last question to make sure it's really cool. So I'll pick a good one. Any advice on playing DMing as a super intelligent enemies? Tucker's Kobolds, I think is what it's called. You can Google that. And basically it took like, here's regular kobolds, but they're super intelligent and they coordinate their attacks for traps and things like that. So if your villain is really, if your monsters or your villain or whatever is super intelligent, then I would give them more traps, not necessarily magic items, but like something that they can use, like illusion magic, to maybe trick the party into thinking something's happening. Yeah. Like give them extra tricks up their sleeve, but don't necessarily increase the CR, you know? So, hey, thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Some more questions, but I think we're done. Actually, maybe I'll answer that. No, I think I'm done. But you guys are great. This was a lot of fun. And we'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe once a month or something. I'll do a Q&A session if you guys find it interesting, to just hang out and chat with me for an hour or an hour and a half or so. But yeah, you guys are awesome. I will see you later, Cyberwolf. I will see the rest of you guys later. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Toodles. Bye-bye.